welcome to another episode of CEO Conversations, the private practice podcast. It is Brandy, Mabra, in case you don't know me yet. I am so excited to be with you today because we are going to talk about a hot topic that I know is burning in so many people's minds, especially when you turn on the news, or maybe you're reading the news, or maybe you're watching the news, or whatever, when it comes to the economy. Oh, the economy. Oh, goodness gracious. Let's all take a breath. Let's all breathe in and breathe out, because it takes me back to when I recorded about the 4 things we were going to do to get through this administration. And one of the things was that we were going to be informed and not consumed. And so as we're navigating the current state of affairs known as our business climate, it's important for us to be on top of it so that way we know what needs to happen inside of our businesses, what needs to happen inside of our practices. I'm an OG when it comes to this. I'm going to go ahead and claim that title because I was part of the 2008 recession and have worked in multiple different types of business climates. So I've been in great climates. I've been in some really crappy climates. In the 2008 recession, there was a lot of shenanigans happening. A lot of people were being laid off. There was a lot of things that we had to navigate in the healthcare industry. And one of the things I have always said is that I'm not going to say 110%, that healthcare is recession proof. However, you can perform better in a recession or a harder business climate when you are in healthcare compared to other industries. So we are blessed. So regardless of what's happening as you're listening to this, there is a solution to your problem, and it's important for you to, again, be informed and not consumed. Welcome to CEO Conversations, the private practice podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Mabra. It's time to show up as a confident leader to create a practice and life you love. So this episode was inspired by one of my clients who asked a very good question, like, how do I show up in this economy? How do I continue to market? How do I continue to talk to patients and clients when we are seeing some of the tougher times, between tariffs and recession and I think even depression has some people, I see people like, what's the difference between the Great Depression and a recession? And that's the state of affairs. That's the state of the union for what we're facing. So I'm here to be an expert. I'm here to guide you. I'm going to pull in some things that I have from my 2008 hat. There's also a whole episode because we spent if we remember, there was like a whole span in 2024 where we were like, are we going to go into a recession? Are we not going to go into a recession? Recession. And doing like the hot to coal dance or whatever, coals on the fire, or jumping from one side to another side. Like, this week's a recession, next week's not. Yes, we're good. Economy's great. So at the end of the day, there will always be some type of thought when it comes to our business climate. This is why it's so important for you to know your industry, to know your numbers, to know what is happening with and paying attention to what your patients and clients are listening to. Because when you come from a place of, again, being informed and not consumed, you can raise yourself above the noise. And that's super, super, super important. So I do have some notes for me today. Just going through because I want to make sure that this is a tangible episode. So if you're watching, you will see me kind of looking down. If you're listening, you can have your own visual of what I'm doing. But at the end of the day, your marketing is so important. So when my client asked this question, what do I do? How do I show up in this economy? How do I show up for my patients? How do I show up to my clients? My number one answer was be an answer to the call. Right? So be an answer to the call. All of us, and even why I'm recording this episode, is because I'm trying to be an answer to the call. And I'm trying to make sure that you are set up and not going down this spiral of, I'm going to go out of business and I'm not going to be able to navigate things. No, you will be fine. If you choose to decide, you will be fine. Because when you come from a place of abundance compared to a place of scarcity, you can choose how you respond, how you show up, the actions that you take, the solutions you put into place. So in this economy, the number one thing you have to be is solution focused. If you are not solution focused and you're just problem focused, then you will find yourself miserable real quick, right? And so I am going to challenge you to pay attention to what are you consuming? What are you taking in? What are you watching? If you're on social media and you're going down the doom and gloom spiral, then that's going to impact your mindset. That's going to impact how you show up. If you are getting newsletters and things that are just talking about the business world is failing and layoffs and people are just not happy, then that's what you're consuming, right? And so even if for me, I've had to be very careful, very, very, very careful of paying attention to what I'm absorbing. I'm paying attention to the conversations that I'm having. I have people, because of the work that I do, sending me stuff all the time. And some of it I acknowledge and ignore it. I'm not even reading it. I'm not consuming it. I'm just being polite. True story. So if you were somebody who sent me something about the recession or what the latest thing that Donald Trump is doing today, I'm probably just like, ha, 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 and moving on with my life, to be honest, because I cannot afford to be in the boat with anybody who is like doom and gloom, right? And so it's important for us to pay attention to who are we talking to? Who's our circle? Are we putting ourselves around people who are inspiring us or challenging us or calling us out when we show up in a different way, right? And so with some of my clients, I have been able to pick up and ask questions like, what are you watching? Like, what's happening here? And so just like being very honest, I'm going down the doom spiral of social media. I am consuming too much of the news and taking too much of it in. So it's important for you to not be completely aloof. That's not what this conversation is, or just ignorantly oblivious to what's happening where you sound like an ignorant, stupid person. You don't want to be that, but you also don't want to be in a place where you can't make decisions, right? Just solid decisions about what needs to happen inside of your practice. There's a big difference. So you can still show up and be very aware. Like, I'm recording this. I'm very aware of what is happening around me. I'm very aware of what's happening to my clients. I'm very aware of what's happening to business owners. I'm very aware that people are being laid off and losing their jobs, right? Very aware. However, I cannot be a solution to the problem if I am part of the problem, because I'm consuming so much that where I feel the exact same feelings as everybody else. So you have to be an answer to the call, and you have to keep your mindset strong so you can be an answer to the call, right? And so when we're talking about the answer to the call, here's what I know is going to come up for somebody. I know if you're listening to this, if you're driving, if you're walking, if maybe you're riding a bike, maybe you're exercising, maybe you're just sitting there listening at your desk. Well, I need to probably put everybody on a sliding fee scale, or, I need to cut prices, or, maybe I shouldn't collect the copays today. Maybe I shouldn't charge the no-show rate. Maybe I shouldn't collect the deductible. Maybe I should be a little bit more lenient on how we're working with our patients. Maybe I should do some no-charge visits. That's not what being an answer to the call is. That is not what that means. You cannot put yourself or your practice in a financial hardship because you are trying to be an answer to the call and you nickel and dime yourself out of business. Like, that is not what that means. When I say be an answer to the call, it's actually the opposite. When you're being an answer to the call, you are empowering your team, you are empowering yourself, you are empowering your business to perform. So you're paying attention. So for example, 2008 recession, we're struggling. And one of the things that we did was we actually looked at our reimbursement rates, right? So Blue Cross Blue Shield came up on the radar. Reimbursement sucked. So one of the things that you need to do is paying attention to how's the money coming in and who is the money coming through. So if you have not asked for any contract increases or reimbursement increases, if you have not looked at your audits when it comes to your documentation, so we talked about a whole billing episode. If you are not looking at what is tied to the money and from a performance perspective, then you're setting yourself up for potential failure, right? Or you're not putting your practice in the best position to be profitable. So 2008 recession, we looked at reimbursement rates. We went ahead and did a request for a contract increase, for a rate and reimbursement increase for Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield said no. Well, we needed more money. Well, okay, Blue Cross Blue Shield, that's fine. We worked it all the way through negotiation of leaving. Like, we left the network and we decided to go ahead and implement self-pay, cash pay rates, and gave everybody a super bill. Why did we do that? Why did we do that? Because at the end of the day, Blue Cross Blue Shield was not helping us out. At the end of the day, cash needed to come in the door. At the end of the day, we needed to empower our patients to be able to still get reimbursed. So we set them up in order to do that. But we did not just sit up there and take it, right? So if you were taking insurance, go back and look at your contract, right? Go back and look at your rates, right? And paying attention. Have you even asked for a rate increase this year? If you haven't, you need to. And even if you have within the past year, there's nothing wrong with asking, when can I do it again? Or what is the process? Or talking about or prepping people to talk about the quality of care that you're providing, the great services that you're providing, if you brought on any additional providers, like all of those things. So bridging the gap in building a relationship with the rep, with the payer, is one of the things that you can do, a strategy that you can do, just so that way you can find out more information. I know that out in the space, I have one too, where you can definitely create a template, but some of it just comes down to relationship building, right? And so healthcare is all about relationship building. You're building relationships with your payers, you're building relationships with referral partners, you're building relationships with your patients and clients. And it's all relationship based. If you can form a relationship with the contracting department of the payer, because there's reps that you work with, that could be a game changer, right? So not everybody's going to be able to implement this type of strategy. However, it's just looking at your numbers and seeing where can we bring in more money. The second part of this is looking at how are you marketing? Are you marketing to the people who can pay, the people who are not losing their jobs, the people who are more secure in their fields? And that sounds really crappy. I know when I say it out loud because we're heart-centered. We want to help. And so when I say go after people who can actually pay and people who have money, that sounds like, I don't know, that sounds so rude. But at the end of the day, like, it's one of the things, again, you're putting your practice in a place to perform. You're putting your practice in a place to bring in dollars, because if you do that, you can help more people. You cannot help anybody if you're broke, if your practice is broken, if you aren't able to pay your bills, if you are laying off people, then you'll go out of business right along with everybody else. And you can't do that. So who in your community has money? Who in your community can actually pay? Who in your community, if there's an outstanding balance, they can actually pay the outstanding balance or the co-pays? Who in your community, if you were to offer a self-pay service, can actually pay it? Who are those people, right? So making sure that you're paying attention to the marketing. If you continue to market to people who cannot pay their bills or who are having a hard time, or who have payers that make your life more complicated, you're not setting yourself up for success. The other piece of this is getting very aware of your data. What are your numbers telling you? Are you paying attention? In economies like this, you have to pay attention to your numbers. You have to make sure that you know the revenue. You need to have a revenue goal. You need to have goals when it comes to your metrics and your KPIs or your key performance indicators. You need to know, like, are we on track for the month? Are we on track for the quarter? Are we on track for the year? If not, then what do we need to do to pivot? Especially proactively, right? So in the 2008 recession, a lot of best practices were formed. I learned a lot during that time because I still was held to a budget. I was still held to a financial performance, and I still was held to the fact that I had team members who needed jobs. So in that time, I got very clear on revenue, expenses, managing the team, having hard conversations with the team when it came to how they were showing up, their productivity. I partnered a lot with my team and let them know the purposes of why I was doing things, why I was saying things, why we're looking at the numbers. I wasn't just showing up and saying, hey, being hard. I was very transparent, very authentic, and very honest. In these types of times, you want to be able to give raises. You will have people who will ask for raises. You may not be able to do all of that, but you might be able to give a stipend. But it's really hard to give a stipend, or it's really hard to even be an answer to a call for your team if you aren't paying attention to how the practice needs to perform financially. So in economies like this, you get closer to the numbers, you get closer to your team, you get closer to your patients and your clients so you can hear what they need. And some of the needs you will not be able to answer. And so at the end of the day, that practice's mission, that practice's vision has got to come before any one person. And you have to let them know, like, when we get to a place where things feel more stable, your job is to make sure that you are putting the practice to get to a place to make things more stable. Then you let your team know, I will catch you up then. I will catch you up then. During that time, there were raises. Some of my team members weren't able to get raises for 2 years. But they got thank yous. They got where I could contribute, right? So if I could bring in a lunch, if I was able to write out a thank you card, if I was able to have solid conversations where they felt how grateful I was for them, if I could give a small gift card, that just something where they felt seen in everything that was happening, right? And so when we're talking about being an answer to the call, it's coming from a place of abundance, not just coming from a place of scarcity. And what can happen is like, well, I don't know if I could even do anything. Are you telling me that you can't say thank you? Like, thank you is free. A handwritten note doesn't require a lot of money. So be creative with how you're showing appreciation for your team, how you're recognizing your team if you're in that situation. We have clients inside of Private Practice CEO, which I'm thrilled about, who are doing well. I mean, extremely well. I was just on a call with one of our clients, and she's slated to make more money this year. But part of the reason why is because last year she did the work in order to set herself up this year. She also has partners who have money so they can make sure that they can pay, right? So she has partners when it comes to companies. She has partners when it comes to patients who are coming in the door, and they all can pay. So she has positioned her practice to be set up for success. So when you go through economies like this, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. A lot of this is looking at the foundation that you've already built and what needs to change about your foundation in order to set you up for tomorrow. If you are not paying attention to your foundation, or if you are in a place of trying to skip steps, then you're going to struggle. That is the bus that you've chosen to put yourself on. If you are not taking the time to look at your numbers, or to have conversations with your team, or to think about your bandwidth as a CEO, or paying attention to the time that you are focusing on real work that's going to move your practice forward, or if you're just deep in employee land and just blending in with your team and not truly being the leader that they need, you're going to struggle. There is no shortcut at this point in time when it comes to business. This is a true economy where you have to be truly business savvy. You are going to have to take risk. You are going to have to read up. We are past where you can, even in the job market, you're going to have a true hiring strategy, a true marketing strategy, a true financial strategy, a true taking care of me strategy, like all of it in this economy. There is no simple answer. And I hate to be that way, because I can sit up and say, just join Private Practice CEO and I'll be the answer to all your problems. Ooh, I hit the mic. But, I'll be an answer to all your problems. I can be a guide for all your problems, and I can be a mentor for all your problems, because I've been there and I've done that, and I have the t-shirt for it. But it's going to take intentionality, and it's going to take strategy. And it is going to take you to be mentally strong on the days where things feel tough, and mentally strong to continue to build and grow your practice, because you can do it. You absolutely can do it. Like I said, I'm an OG. I have been in a lot of spaces, in a lot of places, and I know that in this economy that you can be successful. I also have a business that I am running in this economy, and I am doing well. But also I'm learning, I'm pivoting, I'm trying to figure out what my clientele needs. I'm being innovative. I'm trying to be an answer to the call in the way that I know how. And that is what you need to do too. So you will be fine. You'll be more than fine. You're going to make it. And I'm definitely here to be a resource for you. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the episode and it empowers you as the CEO of your practice. If you enjoyed the podcast, please make sure you subscribe, share the message, and leave a review. If you want more information and support in growing and scaling your practice, click the link in the show notes to take advantage of our free resources or apply to work with me directly. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.